Wise, and I am a graduating student at Liberty University with a presentation about interpersonal communication and enlarging the conversation. Next slide. Stewart defines interpersonal communication as what happens when people talk and listen in ways that maximize the presence of the personal. By maximizing the personal, I am enlarging the conversation, which improves how I communicate with others. This means an improvement in my social life by being a good and safe person to know, an improvement in my professional life by being a trustworthy coworker who handles herself in an appropriate manner even under stress, and improves how I relate my faith in God to those around me. Next slide. So where did my communicational patterns come from? According to Burley Allen, early development of communication begins in the crib in the way an infant learns how to get the attention of others. As I grew, interaction with family members influenced the way I communicated, either in a positive or negative manner. And my earliest interactions continue to influence me even today. Although personal growth has helped me to adjust the negative messages I might have received as a child. This is in line with the study by Guy-Menton, Chevreul, and Bailes, who found that environmental factors affect the manner in which a person learns to communicate. Stewart further explains that communication development is associated with human contact, which affects the quality of life. In other words, if my parents had given me less attention, it would have affected my ability to have healthy relationships throughout life. Next slide. To understand my present communication skills, I took the Uniquely You self-assessment. According to the assessment, I am an S/C behavioral blend. Simply put, this means I am motivated by security and quality, and my personality type can be described as being more reserved than active, even though I am people-oriented. I am also task-oriented and prefer to do research. Others see me as intelligent, but I also need to be compliant and obey rules according to the books. Going by the books can come across as being too rigid. Understanding my personality type helps me to see weaknesses, such as being too rigid, so that I can change how I come across to others. This is especially true when I examine how I perceive others as I am listening to them. I see personal traits that affect my listening skills, such as my tendency to analyze people talking to me. I mentally wonder about the other person's motives, and I may not hear what is really being said because of my mental filters. Next slide. When it comes to effective listening, sometimes I feel like my emotions are all over the place. Peterson's discussion on emotional listening has helped me see this weakness in myself, which involves the things that keep me from really listening to others. I am guilty of analyzing the person speaking instead of listening to the conversation. Burley Allen discusses another weakness I found in my conversation. This has to do with how I perceive reality. Do I listen from what is real for me or what is real for the other person? The movie Fireproof portrays this type of communication and how it destroys a relationship. It portrays a total lack of understanding the other person's reality in the relationship. I saw this weakness when I started to examine how I listen to others with my own interpretations of what is going on instead of theirs. Next slide. Examining my weaknesses led to investigating how my background affects the way I communicate. Some of the things I picked up as a child still influence me today, such as how my behavioral blend was molded from the negativity I picked up as a child and the things that I tell myself that tear up my self-esteem. At the same time, the positive reinforcement that I received during my childhood has given me a more positive side to my self-esteem. Next slide. Understanding the development of my behavioral blend also helps me to see that I need to be aware of my personal beliefs, how I perceive myself and others, and what I tell myself about life. Then I can identify the things I tell myself that are not true to life or are misconceptions. In other words, I need to listen to myself talk. And listening needs to be followed by doing, getting rid of absolutes, avoiding yes but statements, and being empowered to know that I can do challenging things instead of thinking I cannot. Next slide. Another aspect of developing healthier conversation includes making sure I read the body language of those around me. Are the words in line with a person's actions? Are words saying one thing but the body saying something else? What about my words and my body language? Next slide. While I'm listening, am I clearly representing what I am saying? Does my conversation affirm what I am thinking, how I am reacting inside, and what I am feeling? Because all these things are vital parts of the conversation. Next slide. When I have a conversation that hits me wrong, how do I respond? Peterson gives a great analogy by using the flat brain tango to explain what happens when the conversation doesn't go well. An offensive comment is stated. It causes the stomach to flip, sending negativity to the brain, which causes an inability to hear well or think accurately. But I don't have to stay stuck in a flat brain tango. Understanding how to turn my conversations around, I can go from one extreme to another, from not winning, listening, or caring in conversation to all my conversations resulting in winning, listening, and caring. Next slide. Pulling out the Peterson card is a tool I can use with this. As a talker, I need to share my feelings and my thoughts without feeling accused, attacked, labeled, or judged. As a listener, I can remain calm because there is no need to agree, disagree, advise, or defend. I'm listening to a problem, not solving it. Next slide. Part of the process of improving my conversation includes breaking down barriers like noise pollution, as well as the external abstractions I need to block out in order to be an effective listener. My mental distractions keep me from paying attention, while physical abstractions take my focus off the speaker, and internal noise pollution destroys effective conversation. Next slide. But I don't want to have a conversation with myself. I want others to find me as someone they want to relate to. For this to happen, I need to work daily on my listening skills. I also need to avoid the temptation to take over a conversation. It's not only about me. When a stressful or difficult topic is being discussed, I need to learn how to stay calm and to encourage others to know they can speak freely to me without feeling rushed or that I'm going to judge what they say or how they say it. Next slide. My ability to make others feel comfortable with me requires being a person who is interested in others. Until I work on avoiding bad patterns, I will not be able to enlarge the conversation or have attitude that says, it's not always about me. Next slide. Talking one-on-one is difficult enough. Today, I'm also challenged to enlarge my conversation using technology. This means having good communication skills when I'm on the internet, using Facebook, and doing college course discussion boards. Next slide. What does all this mean? It means that I have a master goal, an overarching goal that has a purpose. And that purpose is that I want to be a good communicator because I want to communicate about not only who I am, but who it is that empowers my life. I want others to see me as God's vessel, who listens and cares and is willing to learn and to grow. Next slide. I know being in this world doesn't mean belonging to the world. I belong to God. Do not love the world or anything in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. It is important for others to see this in me. It is important that others see God's love through me. If we love one another, God lives in us, and His love is made complete in us. His love that has been sealed within me through redemption in Christ. Next slide. Developing effective listening and communication skills will help me to be a godly person for others to share their life stories with, and they will know me, who I am, and how I continue to work on being all that God has created me to be. Next slide. My success at interpersonal communication, my ability to enlarge the conversation, will produce healthy, intimate relationships, good working relationships, enjoyable social relationships, and a strong and stable self-esteem. I know my efforts will be inspired by God because a Christ-like quality of life is enhanced through good communication.